Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Langer at the Mic Live, this Habs post-game show. The Montreal Canadiens losing streak, their 5-game losing streak, it's over because the Montreal Canadiens, they beat the Ottawa Senators 3-1. And this is honestly about as excited as we should get for a win against the Ottawa Senators because it was a win at the Bell Center for the first time since the first week of February. It was a 900-plus save percentage game and win for Carey Price. And most of all, though, it was a first career win for new head coach Dominique Ducharme in the NHL. And also something else I noticed, a little thing. The Bell Center, they played the goal horn after the final siren at the end of the third period there. I noticed in the first couple of three games the Habs won at the Bell Center against the Flames and the Canucks, they did not play the goal horn at the end of the final siren, but they did tonight. So, hey, maybe that's a sign of a winning streak to come. But anyway, I haven't done this in a while, so let's just talk about all the good habits from this game, everything that was positive from this game. And obviously, let's start by congratulating Dominique Ducharme for his first win as head coach in the NHL. As I guess they said, 3 times a charm, or as someone on Twitter said, 3 times Ducharme. I won't take credit for that. But look, through the 3 games, obviously, look, the game in Winnipeg, the first game in Winnipeg, like there was just so much to clean up. They're on the road. He had the entire day to talk to the media and all that, so he didn't have a chance to really, fix things. But then we saw the improvements on Saturday, and then now with 2 days off, we saw, the same improvements from Saturday translate to today. The Canadiens played with authority in the most important parts of the game, and they limited the Ottawa Senators to 5 shots in the third. One big issue with this Canadiens team this year, at least, has been their ability to play defense and hold leads. Like they blew a 2-0 lead against the Jets. They blew a 4-3 lead against the Ottawa Senators last week. They've lost leads to the Leafs, of course. So they've had issues playing team defense in the past, but the Sens did have some decent chances in the third period that didn't quite count as shots. But at the end of the day, the Habs, they got the job done. They essentially trapped the Sens out in the third period. They did hold them to 5 shots. And look, it was a really nice gesture by Jonathan Drouin to get that game puck for his current head coach, but also his former head coach back with the Halifax Mooseheads. A really nice gesture from Jonathan Drouin. So once again, félicitations, Dominique Ducharme, for his first win in the NHL. But now the biggest reason why the Canadiens won this game, honestly, is because of what has been their biggest weakness in the last month, and that has been special teams. The Senators were 0 for 3 on the power play, despite an early 4-minute high-sticking penalty that Yoel Armia took in the first, and they got some chances or some chaotic moments where Batherson hit the post and there was a scramble and all that, but the Habs killed that one off, and they killed the other 2 penalties off with pretty easily after that. And then, of course, on the power play, the Montreal Canadiens scored 2 power play goals in essentially 2 minutes. They finished 2 for 3 on the night, with the first being a beautiful finish on by Brendan Gallagher, whereas Marc Denis said on the RDS broadcast, where pretty much all 5 Canadian skaters touched the puck. And of course, Gally finished it off with a really nice play, even though he took a high stick in the face, which led to the Eric Goodbranson double minor, and which of course led to Jeff Petry's shot that was a cannon. Perhaps Joey Decord should have maybe stopped it, but we'll take it as the Canadiens have only scored 2 goals in the last 14 attempts on the power play in the last month. So, and also, obviously, side note, the Canadiens now lead the NHL once again in goals by defensemen with 14 with that Jeff Petry goal. But let's also talk about the work by Corey Perry and Jesperi Kotkaniemi on the power play. And honestly, excuse me, I don't care what anyone says, but Corey Perry is extremely valuable to this forward group, especially on the power play. His presence in front of the net as both a screen, but also his savvy and his raw skill that you don't lose at 35, 36 years old. You have it pretty much the whole time, right? You might lose your speed, you might lose your endurance, strength, whatever, but you very seldomly lose. Your skill doesn't fall off that much, and he's still got it, and he's able to make quick plays in front of the net in tight, like on Gallagher's goal. Also, like I think it was a pretty much a carbon copy Gallagher goal. That was the power play goal that opened that was the first goal the Habs scored in the home opener against the Flames. I forget if it was Gallagher or Tatar who scored that one, but a very similar play, in tight, quick little backhand flick to Gallagher, who finished off really nicely. His experience is just, again, everything that Corey Perry brings is unique, is something that no other forward on this team really has. Maybe outside of Tyler Toffoli, which we'll get into in a little bit. But Corey Perry is so valuable on this roster, and I honestly would have him in the lineup more often than not. And the only reason why I would sit him is to maybe give him a night off, and that's it. But he is extremely valuable to this forward group. And of course, Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Tonight we saw why Jesperi Kotkaniemi has to get power play time. Because when there's more time and space, when Jesperi Kotkaniemi has more time and space, like there is on the power play, obviously, look, the penalty killers will try to be aggressive, try and get in your face. But if you play a power play correctly, there's always going to be one guy that has more time and space than at 5-on-5, of course, because 5 versus 4, logic, right? But when Jesperi Kotkaniemi has that time and space, he makes plays, and he is good at moving the puck because he has raw offensive talent that is best used on the power play. And him and Corey Perry were the reasons why that second power play unit was better than the first wave. Because if you remember after Gallagher scored that goal, I believe it was Toffoli, it was Suzuki, it was Drouin, it was Weber, and I want to say Tatar or Romanov. I forget who the other point guy was, but that first wave it took 45 seconds before they finally got any pressure or any setup going in the offensive zone, at which point Kotkaniemi was already back on the ice and they were already kind of changing onto the second wave. So anyway, back to Kotkaniemi though. We saw a little bit of bubble Jesperi Kotkaniemi tonight. He was good on the forecheck. He was winning battles. He was also covering for the defense. There was a play where he essentially had to step in on an odd man situation down low, and he covered a guy in front. He was also 3 for 6 on faceoffs. He did have a little bit of a boo-boo giveaway turnover that ended up leading to the sequence that led to the Artyom Zub goal. But for a guy who gets compared to number 7 on the Ottawa Senators, which is Brady Tkachuk, of course, because of where they were both drafted in the 2018 draft, Jesperi Kotkaniemi outplayed Brady Tkachuk tonight. Brady Tkachuk outplayed overall Kotkaniemi last week. I mean, look, he gets also top 3 forward opportunities that Jesperi Kotkaniemi does not get, because Kotkaniemi only played 12 minutes tonight, by the way. But again, in those 12 minutes, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, in my mind, outplayed Brady Tkachuk tonight. So if you're going to compare the two, if you're Tony Marinaro or someone that thinks Brady Tkachuk is the better player, whatever, blah, 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 well, I wouldn't say that was so much the case tonight. But with that being said, we still want to see that overall consistency from game to game by Jesperi Kotkaniemi. And of course, we want to see him get a little bit more than 12 or 13 minutes of ice time. But again, tonight's a win, so I won't get too much into that. But you know what? The other guys that played alongside the Finnish guys, Joel Armia and Arturi Lehkonen, also played really, really well alongside Jesperi Kotkaniemi. And Thomas Tatar was also very active on the forecheck. Jonathan Drouin played really, really, really well again, even though his effort doesn't quite show up on the score sheet. And despite he only had 1 shot on goal, he did hit a post, like just skimmed the outside of the net, beating Joey Decourt on the blocker side and hit the post. Drouin won puck battles. He made plays. Like, my theory with Drouin is that he's a perfectionist. That's why he never shoots the puck on net, to me, because he's a perfectionist. And I was just thinking about this, like, in having a bit of a Twitter exchange earlier during the game. Like, I feel like he just is so dead set, or just so determined, let's just say determined, to make the perfect play. And he did on a couple of occasions to Toffoli, and also that play to Romanov. But I'll get to another issue that is there in a second. But yeah, just to me, he obviously has to shoot the puck more. He has to score more goals. But for what he's doing this year compared to his previous 4 years as a Montreal Canadian, like, you can't be disappointed with Drouin. Like, you can't. He is performing like pretty much at a consistent level from game to game, offensively, making plays, also being responsible defensively, winning puck battles, creating turnovers. Like, there isn't really that much more you could expect out of Jonathan Drouin, other than maybe scoring more than 2 goals on the year. But again, great game from Jonathan Drouin. I won't say much more than I already said. But on the defensive side, Joel Edmondson, I think, played one of his best games as a Montreal Canadian tonight. He played really well at both ends. There's even chances where instead of shooting the puck from a mile away, just inside the blue line, he walked into the slot and got a couple of nice chances like that. And also, by the way, Ben Sherratt and Shea Weber played a very, very quiet but effective 20-plus minutes. Petrie did turn the puck over a couple of times, but he obviously had the power play goal. And Alexander Romanov had a couple of turnovers as well, which Jonathan Drouin had to bail him out on in the third period in one particular instance. But Alexander Romanov did have a BK Subban-like hit on Eric Brandstrom in the first period, which was really fun to see. And yeah, just I feel like Romanov, you see pictures of him on, reported by on social media by Eric Engels and John Liu and Arpin Bazu, all the Canadians, beat reporters showing pictures of Romanov being the last guy in the ice again of like most recently, and back in training camp and at the beginning of the season, Romanov was always the last guy in the ice. So, hey, maybe if Romanov keeps being the last guy in the ice at practice, first and last guy on the rink, first in the gym all the time, well, maybe it'll translate to him playing really, really well, because it did again for the most part tonight. And of course, Philip Deneau and Tyler Toffoli, I will just say that they worked really well together to make the plays in the defensive zone late in the game that led to Tyler Toffoli icing the game with his empty netter. And of course, last but not least, that guy over there, Carey Price. I wouldn't say this is a game where you can say, suck it, Carey Price haters, because the goal that he gave up on Artyom Zub was not exactly ideal. Zub is a defenseman who's like kind of more of a stay-at-home, maybe a bit of a just more of a stay-at-home guy, but whatever. He's just not a goal scorer. He's definitely not a goal scorer. And it was like he did take, to his credit, he did make the right move to take the time and space that he had to walk in and let go a nice shot from the middle of the slot. But it's still one that you kind of want Price to stop based on where he's positioned. And if he stops that, he probably gets the shutout. And this could have been his third shutout, considering the fact that he let up not the best goal in the Edmonton game back early in the season, and he gave up 2 late iffy goals against the Calgary Flames. But again, you know what? Dominique Ducharme could have very well gone with Jake Allen in this game, but you know what? He gave his franchise goaltender another chance to redeem himself. And again, this was not a signature win for Carey Price, a signature win, quote unquote, for Price by any means, since he didn't have to play out of his mind, but he still made the saves that he needed to make in order for the Canadiens to win tonight. He made 26 of them, to be exact, which means good for the save percentage numbers. And while you can't maybe say that Carey Price was back based on his performance tonight, because you could also very well turn around and give up 5 goals to the Winnipeg Jets on Thursday, it was still a huge step in the right direction for both his confidence and to how his play and confidence relates to the overall team's confidence. And you know what? Guess what? I wore my, if you can really see, here, my number 31 t-shirt from 2008, my 2008 Carey Price t-shirt, which I still have, and I resurrected it, and I'm going to wear it again on Thursday, even if Price doesn't work tonight. So I'm going to wear it again going forward. And by the way, this is breaking news. This happened before I even started the show. Goaltender coach Stéphane Waite got fired, and Sean Burke is going to take over as a new goaltending coach. And I don't want to comment on it too much now, because all I'll say, I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more of a story on it tomorrow, but I will say that it's a little bit ill-timed. No, I mean, just you had the couple of days, the 2 days off, or however many days off between games, between starts, at least for Price, where Waite was working with Price. And so much has been said about how Stéphane Waite helped Corey Crawford's game back, on the way to the Stanley Cup final. But look, I just feel like if there was going to be a change that was going to be made, obviously they got rid of Claude Julien and Kirk Muller last week. I just feel like it could have been done a bit of a different time. But anyway, won't say too much more about that, because I'm sure more of a story will come out of it, overnight and tomorrow. But just real quick, I want to touch on the things that I didn't love about this game as much. And I'm going to use this little segment here to talk about the officiating, because it's getting really annoyingly bad, because Jonathan Drouin was hit hard by Austin Watson in the second. It was a dirty cross-check behind the play, no call. Also, Brendan Gallagher was tripped on a forecheck, where it's a penalty that you've seen called on the Canadiens with, Jeff Petrie setting a pick, or just little chitsy, weak little calls that you've seen called on the Canadiens. Brendan Gallagher tripped on the forecheck, no call. I still don't quite understand that I understand what the rule is because, if you draw blood on a high stick, that's an extra 2 minutes, but it didn't seem like Gallagher was bleeding on the high stick that he took. And I didn't know if, I forget if it was Stützle or who was the guy that Armia high stick in the first period. I think it was Batherson, whoever it was. I don't know if he was bleeding, but then Armia was bleeding a couple weeks ago. The guy who high sticked Armia a couple weeks ago didn't get an extra 2. So again, I don't even know what constitutes a 2-minute versus 4-minute high sticking penalty according to how they're calling it, but that's a different story. Even Tim Stützle got high sticked by Joel Edmondson in the third period to no call. But you know what? All I will say is that we can't let it get to us emotionally, because at the end of the day, officiating is not the reason why the Canadiens win or lose. Even the Gallagher non-call or Gallagher goal interference call last week, if Carey Price doesn't give up the banane type of goals, and if the Canadiens don't fall behind 2-0 in the first period against the Ottawa Senators, well, maybe they're not in a situation where they need a goal with 3 seconds left to beat the Senators. But anyway, enough about reffing. Bottom line is, the only other issue that I kind of concerns me / I don't love is that the Canadiens, they don't have any pure goal scorers. They lack they lack pure goal scoring talent. And what I mean by that is the Habs don't have many players with deceptive releases in their shot. Because I found today and against the Winnipeg Jets on Saturday, they did a really good job getting in good scoring areas. But even though they did get in good scoring areas, they were not challenging goaltenders as much as they maybe should have. Because it looked like tonight, every time they got into a good scoring area and got a good scoring opportunity on Joey Daccord, it seemingly ended up in his chest, or just like he made an easy pad save or something. To his credit, Joey Daccord had to make some really big saves in this game. And I believe he played well. He did play well in his second NHL start, but he still didn't seem overly challenged. And on a lot of the prime scoring chances that the Canadiens were able to generate, and it's not the first time we can really say that this season, where the Canadiens, just despite all the shots that they fire at the net and all the chances that they get, like, goaltenders don't seem to be very much challenged by them. And again, the Canadiens, they have guys with offensive talent. They have Jonathan Drouin, they got Nick Suzuki, they got Thomas Tatar, Yoel Armia. They have guys with hard shots like Josh Anderson, Jesperi Kotkaniemi. You could even throw Yoel Armia into that as well. But they still lack like a pure goal scoring touch and quick release, because honestly, it's all about a deceptive and quick release that beats goaltenders over hard or accurate shots. A deceptive release, how many goals have you seen goalies give up where like a shooter fans on the puck, but because the goalie thought it was going high glove because of the way the shooter's stick was going, it goes under his glove or underneath his arm. So you beat goaltenders more with fast, deceptive releases than you do with hard, accurate shots. And I'm not even saying like guys like McDavid or Matthews or Pasternak, but even guys like Max Pacioretty back in the day, Mike Camilleri. Tyler Toffoli is a guy who I'd say has the most pure goal scoring touch on the Canadiens right now. But hey, you know what? That's where perhaps a guy like Cole Caulfield can make a difference, because I guarantee you that at least for his time in the NCAA, Cole Caulfield has had a ton of goal scoring touch at his time with the U.S. national development team and during the season in the NCAA, where he should win the Hobey Baker Award. But last but not least, let's take a heavy dose of reality and accept the fact that this was still the Ottawa Senators, and the Canadiens only beat them 3-1, and that it wasn't exactly easy. But guess what? The Senators have won 4 of their last 5 games. And for the Habs, after taking 5 losses in a row and 8 of their last 10 games, after losing 8 of their 10 last games, you take this win against the Ottawa Senators and you celebrate it and you be happy for it. And with that being said, on to the Winnipeg Jets on Thursday. And I hope that Josh Anderson can be back, because I think the Canadiens will really, really need him, because I don't think the Jets are going to get outplayed as easily like they did by the Habs on Saturday night. But hey, maybe this will be the start of a 2+ game winning streak for the first time since the beginning of February against the Canucks. So but that's all I got here on this Habs postgame show here on Langer at the Mic Live. As usual, if you enjoy my commentary, give me a big thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to my channel. Give me a follow on Twitter or Instagram at Mike Langer. I'll include that in the description below. But this has been a Habs postgame show here on Langer at the Mic Live. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you again next time.